Before we get to the story, take a second to give this video a like and subscribe. Your contribution to the development of the channel is invaluable. Thank you. I wake up to the soft morning glow streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Brooklyn loft, a space that has always felt more like a living canvas than a home. The smell of brewed coffee and the faint sound of live acoustic melodies from my neighbors gently coax me from the arms of sleep. I stretch, feeling the quiet strength of my body during my morning yoga routine, a ritual that centers me amid the creative chaos of my unconventional life. Today, however, the familiar rhythm is abruptly interrupted by the buzz of my smartphone. As I swipe through my messages, a peculiar notification catches my eye. A photograph shrouded in mystery. The image, captured from a metro security camera, shows my reflection juxtaposed against a riot of vivid graffiti art. Bold colors and carefree strokes frame the unmistakable contour of my face. Overlaid on the image, in a script that seems both intimate and daring, are the words, "You are shining like never before. If you only knew." My heart lurches at the unexpected compliment, and a cascade of thoughts floods my mind. I can't help but wonder about the sender. Travis, the enigmatic brother of my friend Greg, suddenly springs to mind. I recall past hints of his silent rebellions at underground art shows and his offhand glances at avant-garde gatherings. Why now, when life was supposed to be predictable? Is it an innocent mistake, a brazen prank, or a sign that destiny has finally decided to intervene? My pulse races as a thrill of excitement mingles with apprehension. This startling intrusion into my morning routine ignites memories of carefree nights at secret gallery openings and spontaneous encounters that punctuated my existence with reckless beauty. I feel the thin veil between everyday life and the irresistible lure of the unknown beginning to blur. Though I hesitate to leap headlong into this mystery, I can't ignore that an unspoken promise of change has been delivered to me with all the subtlety of a shattering glass. I take a deep breath, knowing that today might mark the first tremor in a sequence of events that could upend everything familiar. With my heart pounding in uncertain anticipation, I step into the day, unwilling to let a single question go unanswered, even as fate's subtle whisper sets the stage for revelations beyond my wildest imaginings. Later that day, the memory of the mysterious image refuses to fade. I find myself inside the sun-dappled atrium of the art studio where I spend my days merging colors and memories into intricate collages. Between brushes and canvases, whispers glide through the air as colleagues discuss, in hushed yet animated tones, who might have orchestrated such a bold move. Their eyes flicker with curiosity, and every comment fuels a spark of excitement that makes my pulse quicken. I listen intently while my mind roils with conflicting emotions. A swirl of shock at the unexpected message and a burgeoning thrill reminiscent of adventures I once only dared to imagine. I drift away from the group, seeking refuge in a quiet corner draped with unfinished work. The creative energy pulsing around me seems to amplify my internal conflict. Each stroke I make on the canvas mirrors the oscillation between apprehension and desire. I recall nights filled with spontaneous laughter and daring exploits, a collection of memories that now seem to play as fragments of an unrehearsed dream. Despite an undercurrent of trepidation, there is an undeniable magnetism to the enigma that has intruded on my morning routine. The shadows of those secretive midnight gatherings, where whispered promises and dangerous glances were exchanged, surge within me with alarming intensity. My heart feels heavy with a strange combination of fear and anticipation. It isn't mere paranoia that grips me, but a primal recognition that the life I've always known might be punctured by something extraordinary. The very idea of tracing hints left behind by Travis, the elusive brother of my trusted friend Greg, evokes images of forbidden encounters and clandestine conversations. Each rumor circulating among the studio's eclectic clientele adds another layer of intrigue to the unfolding mystery. There's an almost palpable electricity in the air that speaks of perilous liberation and unexpected transformation, an invitation to cross boundaries I'd long assumed were fixed. I surrender to the ineffable intensity of the moment, uncertain yet exhilarated by the promise of a life redefined. After that unsettling morning, I resolved to keep silent. I didn't reply to the mysterious message, thinking that maybe ignoring it would somehow dull the electric sting of uncertainty. Yet silence, as it turned out, had its own language, a language of aching secrets and simmering unrest. I tried to drown out the persistent echo of that enigmatic text with mundane tasks, but every moment felt laden with unspoken truth, each heartbeat a reminder that I was tiptoeing along the edge of a hidden storm. That evening, I found myself at a sleek downtown restaurant, a place where dim light and quietly strummed jazz set the stage for polished conversation. I sat with several colleagues, discussing our latest exhibition project as if our work were an impenetrable shield. However, as we dissected ideas and dissected art, my mind drifted repeatedly back to that disquieting message. Every clink of cutlery and soft murmur of nearby diners underscored the contrast between the outward calm and the turmoil building inside me. During a lull in the discussion, a young waitress quietly observed, "You look like you're carrying a story that you're too scared to share." Her words, delivered in a gentle yet probing tone, sliced through my veneer of indifference. It was as if she had seen the invisible weight pressing down on my chest, the internal battle between keeping secrets and the desperate need to voice the truth. The stylish setting, once an arena for lively debate and shared excitement, transformed into a spotlight that illuminated my inner conflict and exposed the silent fissures in my soul. I sat there, torn between the safety of silence and the gnawing need to confess what I felt, even if only to myself. Outside, the city's neon pulse mingled with the soothing patter of rain, each drop resonating like a soft drumbeat in tune with my inner disquiet. I wondered if remaining mute was a refuge or merely a postponement of an inevitable reckoning. As I finally stepped out into the drizzle, I felt the cool rain on my face, each drop a quiet testimony to the fact that no secret remains hidden forever, and that sometimes, the loudest truths are the ones left unspoken. At an evening event at the Nook, a creative hub tucked away in Williamsburg and renowned for its eclectic mix of art and raw urban energy, I found myself drifting amid a crowd of passionate artists and free spirits. The air was electric with whispered theories about the latest installations and enthusiastic debates over experimental music, when suddenly, my phone buzzed with a new notification. Instantly, my heart pounded as I glanced at the screen and read a message that was as casual as it was charged with significance. "Let's meet this Thursday at my new art club. Just come and be yourself." Those few words, simple yet potent, sent ripples of wonder and trepidation through me. The invitation felt like a nudge from fate, a daring opportunity to step outside the comfortable boundaries of my well-ordered life and enter a realm where authenticity and risk intertwined. Later that evening, the conversation with my best friend Laurel became a sanctuary where doubts and desires mingled openly. We sat in the dim glow of my favorite downtown cafe, the hum of late-night discourse wrapping around us like a comforting blanket. Laurel's eyes glistened with mischief as she recalled her own ventures into reckless life-altering escapades. "Sometimes, life insists on shaking us awake," she confided in a hushed tone, "forcing us to confront the parts of ourselves we keep hidden behind routine." Her words resonated deeply, echoing my inner stirrings and intensifying the heady cocktail of anticipation and fear. I couldn't help but wonder if Travis's unexpected outreach was less a random occurrence and more a deliberate stroke in a game whose rules had suddenly become mysterious. As I finally left the cafe, the city's nocturnal rhythm pulsed around me with a magnetic insistence. The streets, alive with flickering neon and soft echoes of music from distant bars, mirrored the duality of my emotions, torn between a yearning for security and an aching hunger for unpredictable adventure. Every step I took felt like walking the edge of a razor, where the promise of transformation danced dangerously close to the threat of upheaval. Travis's invitation was more than a meeting. It was a challenge to abandon the safe confines of my routine and embrace the vulnerability that comes with daring to live fully. With each passing moment, I sensed that this call to be myself might unlock truths I'd long suppressed, and that in doing so, I was ready to risk everything in pursuit of a life unburdened by fears and unrestrained by convention. The night finally arrives, and I step into the Electric Muse, a pulsating art club nestled at the heart of Manhattan. The venue is a kinetic explosion of unconventional installations, where laser beams and immersive projections transform the space into a vivid dreamscape of color and sound. I navigate my way through a dense crowd of free spirits whose laughter and animated debates create an electric undercurrent that thrums in the veins of the night. Amid this mesmerizing chaos, I spot him. Travis, leaning casually against a wall adorned with abstract murals, his presence as magnetic as a hidden force drawing me closer. Without preamble, our eyes meet and conversation flows naturally. "I've been waiting to have this talk," Travis murmurs, his voice low and sincere, as if all the secrets of the evening converge in that moment. His nonchalant tone belies the intensity swirling underneath, an unspoken acknowledgement that our meeting is more than a rendezvous, it's a collision of fates. We begin by discussing the fragments of our past. Fleeting moments at underground installations, impromptu jam sessions with bohemian collectives, and encounters with street artists whose lives are as raw as the images they project. Every word we exchange is laden with double meanings, hinting at vulnerabilities and long-hidden confessions. Travis, with a glimmer of defiance dancing in his eyes, recalls an earlier encounter at a guerrilla art event where chance had arranged our paths merely to cross for an instant, a brush with destiny that he never managed to explain. I, in turn, speak of my evolving perceptions, the continual transformation that life in Brooklyn and Manhattan has instilled in me, and the sense of liberation that comes from embracing one's authentic self, however messy it may be. The ambience of Electric Muse amplifies every emotion. The bass reverberates like the steady beating of our hearts as our discussion flows effortlessly from art to philosophy, from fearless experimentation to the dizzying ache of past betrayals. As the hours slip by, our conversation becomes a labyrinth of personal truths and candid revelations. We navigate topics that feel both dangerous and exhilarating. The longing for connection, the scars left by unspoken regrets, and the transformative power of daring to live on the edge of societal norms. In that charged space, punctuated by brilliant visual spectacles and the rhythmic pulse of experimental music, we find an intimacy that transcends superficial attraction. Here, amid a collage of voices and inspirations, each sentence we share emerges as an act of defiance against mediocrity, a testament to the yearning for a life saturated in genuine emotion and unvarnished honesty. Every word, every shared glance, etches the moment deeper into the tapestry of our unfolding destinies. The weekend unfolds with unexpected elegance as Greg hosts a lavish dinner in a penthouse that offers a breathtaking panoramic view of the glittering nocturnal skyline. At the heart of this dazzling event, an undercurrent of sophistication meets subtle intrigue. The opulent venue buzzes with high-minded conversations, where business connoisseurs and cultural mavens mingle amid the soulful strains of live jazz and the daring rhythms of an avant-garde dance ensemble. It is here, amid this finely tuned tapestry of light and sound, that I unexpectedly catch sight of Travis again, an elusive phantom who seems to weave in and out of conversations with a stealthy grace. For a moment, our eyes meet across the bustling room, his gaze carrying the remnants of our previous nocturnal encounter. His presence, though subtle, ignites memories of that incendiary night at the Electric Muse, and the echoes of our whispered confessions reverberate in my mind. I feel a collision of hidden truths and unsaid words, as if his silent smile is a promise of further, dangerous revelations. The atmosphere around us intensifies as I drift through clusters of guests, my thoughts split between enjoying the refined celebration and grappling with a disquiet that refuses to be dismissed. A period of silence stretches between bouts of forced politeness and shared laughter at one of the elegantly arranged tables. During a quiet exchange about a controversial new art project, I sense that every word Travis utters to a nearby acquaintance is laden with a secret only we seem to share. When our eyes lock once more across the polished surface of an antique sideboard, it feels as though time has slowed, a brief moment when the gleam in his eyes reflects a storm of unspoken longing. Every subtle gesture becomes a coded message, hinting at alliances formed in the flickering shadows of our past decisions and betrayals. As the night proceeds, the dinner transforms into a delicate dance of vulnerability and control. My pulse quickens with a mix of anticipation and guilt as I realize that every stolen glance and every soft sigh over clinking crystal underscores the inevitable crumbling of the carefully constructed facades that have defined my life. The evening, with all its refined indulgence and carefully orchestrated conversation, not only highlights the splendor of the moment but also exposes the slowly emerging fissures in the relationships I once believed were unbreakable. Returning home late one crisp evening, I discover a string of provocative messages awaiting me in my inbox. The notifications pull me into a realm of coded confessions and elusive symbolism. A digital trail left by Travis using both encrypted apps and even forgotten email accounts. Each message is a razor-sharp shard of reflection, mirroring the unresolved tension simmering within me. Their words evoke images of raw nostalgia and whispered dreams, and every line hints at the dual life we're both living. One scripted by societal expectations, the other defined by our deepest, most unstable desires. In the days that follow, the messages become a relentless refrain, fueling endless cycles of sleepless nights and restless days. I find myself meeting with an old group of friends at a modest wine bar nestled in Greenwich Village. A place where time seems to slow down enough to let truths emerge from behind the clamor of clinking glasses and casual banter. Over glasses of ruby red wine, our conversations wander from indie soundtracks to the intricacies of urban politics and the price of freedom, both material and spiritual. Yet even amid laughter and the familiar cadence of old companionship, an undercurrent of vulnerability pulsates in every shared secret, as if the bar itself has become a confessional and every whispered word a testament to our hidden fractures. The messages stir a maelstrom of emotions in me, part desire, part despair, and an overwhelming sense of foreboding. I'm haunted by the notion that my life, a delicate tapestry woven with threads of art, ambition, and carefully concealed pain, has been secretly observed and catalogued by someone who knows exactly which strings to pull. With each carefully constructed note from Travis, the rift between the glossy image I present to the world and the turbulent reality inside me widens. In the solitude of my dimly lit apartment, the messages echo in the hollow silence, leaving me to wonder whether this intimate digital correspondence is a mere play of chance or a meticulously orchestrated overture signaling irrevocable change. Every unread message pushes me further toward a reckoning that promises to upend all I thought was certain about trust, desire, and the price of true self-discovery. That night, after a day of relentless inner turmoil and whispered digital confessions, Travis sends a last message. A proposal to meet in a place as unconventional as our unfolding saga. I find myself heading to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, where rumors say art comes alive on forgotten rooftops. The urban legend of this place had always been murmured in secret corners of underground circles. A spot transformed, if only temporarily, into an open-air gallery by the transient magic of projected poems and images. As I step out of a battered elevator, the cool night air envelopes me, and the clamor of the city fades into the distance, replaced by the gentle hum of anticipation. Climbing the creaking stairs, each step echoes in rhythm with my surging heartbeat, intensifying my every thought. At the top, the rooftop sprawls beneath a canvas of endless dark skies, punctured by the distant glimmer of city lights and the ephemeral glow of improvised art. Here, the boundary between reality and dreams is blurred, every shadow promising secrets and revelations. I see him waiting near a makeshift installation, a collection of projected verses from obscure poets and vivid looping images of urban chaos. Travis stands there casually, his figure illuminated by the soft, shifting patterns that dance over broken concrete and rusted metal. "Welcome to our sanctuary of truth," he says quietly, his tone both inviting and edged with danger. There is no preamble this time, no pleasantries. Only a magnetic pull that seems to draw every suppressed emotion to the surface. We start our conversation amidst the cold wind and the ephemeral art around us, speaking in hushed tones that meld with the ambient melody of distant sirens and rustling debris. Our words become layered confessions, a montage of regrets, desires, and reflections on a life lived in half-truths. With each syllable, I feel the weight of everything I have hidden, every moment of surrender to a mundane existence that now crumbles before the raw intensity of the night. In this surreal tableau, the rooftop transforms into a confessional where vulnerabilities are not weaknesses but bridges connecting two solitary souls adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Every whispered sentence, every shared glance, sways between peril and possibility, forging a dangerous intimacy that promises both salvation and ruin. As we stand on that precipice, the night becomes an unwritten chapter, a daring script where fate and free will collide, daring us to abandon the safety of silence and leap into the unknown. After that electrifying kiss on the rooftop, everything shifted into a whirlwind of blurred lines and unforeseen risks. The days that followed plunged me deeper into a maze where passion and guilt coexisted in a dangerous tango. Travis and I embarked on a reckless journey, a series of clandestine escapades unfolding in the shadowed corners of exclusive nightlife and derelict art spaces. Together, we danced between the intoxication of fervent desire and the sharp sting of betrayal. Our rendezvous became as much a celebration of our hidden cravings as a grim acknowledgement of the paths we were choosing to wander. In dimly lit backrooms of secret clubs and abandoned theaters repurposed for experimental performances, our conversations grew into confessional monologues. We traded stories of failed romances and quiet regrets, revealing bits of our past while simultaneously crafting new narratives that defied everything we had known. Travis disclosed the tangled web of his own romantic misadventures, whispers of affection turned into cruel betrayals, while I, in trembling honesty, recounted moments when my carefully nurtured identity shattered under the weight of unfulfilled promises and half-truths. The more we bared our souls, the deeper I sank into the morass of self-deception. Every smile exchanged, every fleeting touch, was a silent reminder of the duplicity that simmered beneath the surface. As we tiptoed through this maze of conflicting loyalties, the stark reality of my other life began to press down on me. Greg, my seemingly steadfast partner, remained oblivious to the storm raging on the periphery of our shared days. His busy schedule and naive trust painted him as the perfect anchor in a life swirling with chaos. Yet, every stolen moment with Travis was a violation. A secret betrayal that darkened my mirror and left me questioning who I had become. In moments of solitude, I would replay our encounters like a looping film, each scene more fervent and unsettling than the last. The thrill of our forbidden passion clashed violently with the creeping dread of inevitable ruin. I realized that while I was chasing the adrenaline of rebellion, I was also constructing a house of cards built on lies. Amid whispered declarations and the sudden rush of intimacy on moonlit city streets, I found no solace. Only a growing chasm between who I appeared to be and the tumult of choices that haunted me every minute. The thrill of our late-night escapades blurred into an ever-present haze of regret, and every whispered conversation in the dim corridors of back-alley clubs magnified the echo of my own betrayal. In that relentless storm of self-deception and secret liaisons, the line between passion and pain disintegrated, leaving me to face the ultimate question. Was it freedom that I was embracing, or the slow, inevitable collapse of the self I once knew? Every new escapade only deepened the vortex, where desire and treachery intermingled as violently as the conflicting beats of a heart stricken by doubt and longing. On a rain-soaked Saturday, the city felt as if it were weeping secrets along every glistening street. I made my way to a vintage bookstore cafe in the heart of downtown, a sanctuary where old mahogany shelves and the soft murmur of classical records offered refuge from a world suddenly unsteady. The warm light filtering through stained glass windows bathed the room in amber hues, and the comforting aroma of freshly ground coffee mingled with the musky scent of aging paper. In a secluded corner, where the clatter of cups and hushed conversations created an intimate cocoon, I found Travis waiting with a look that was at once desperate and determined. Without the need for pleasantries, we dove headlong into a dialogue that crackled with the intensity of a storm. "We've skirted around truths for too long," he began, his voice low and unwavering, each word weighted with a blend of regret and resolve. I could feel the raw gravity of what he was saying as he stared deep into my eyes, a gaze that reflected years of suppressed longings and unspoken betrayals. In that charged atmosphere, every admission was sharpened like broken glass. We spoke candidly of the personal wounds we had both long concealed, of the deceptions that had slipped silently between us and the lives we'd built on fragile foundations. Our conversations spiraled into a torrent of confessions. I recounted the guilt that had gnawed at me after each furtive encounter, the crushing realization that I was tearing apart a life built on trust and familiarity. Travis, in turn, bared his soul, unveiling the scars of a past filled with half-truths and the relentless quest for a freedom that often proved more destructive than liberating. With the rain thrumming a steady, insistent cadence against the window, every word we exchanged became a declaration, a final reckoning with the selves we had hidden for too long. In that moment, as the clamor of the cafe faded into the background, we confronted the singular, undeniable truth. There was no escape from the consequences of our choices. Our heated exchange transformed into a mutual understanding that the time for illusions had ended. We were at the precipice, forced to decide whether to continue down the perilous path of our clandestine defiance or to embrace the harsh, unfiltered reality of who we were meant to be. The conversation, fierce and unyielding, was not merely a farewell to our old lives. It was a vow, a dangerous promise that our next steps, though fraught with pain, would finally lead us toward a truth we could no longer ignore. Late one rain-soaked night, I found myself alone in the near-silent expanse of my apartment, where every shadow carried echoes of the past and every corner whispered of choices made in haste. As I stood before a cracked mirror, the reflection that met my eyes was not the woman I once knew, but a tapestry of scars woven from betrayal, guilt, and a bittersweet yearning for redemption. The tumultuous events of the last few weeks, the clandestine escapades, the confessional midnight meetings, and the feverish whispers of forbidden desire, converged into a single inescapable truth. My life would never be the same. There, in the solitude of that darkened room, I allowed my mind to revisit every stolen moment and every unspoken word. The vivid recollection of Travis's enigmatic smile and the tempest of passion shared on secret rooftops mingled with the bitter sting of the guilt I carried for betraying Greg, the steady, unsuspecting anchor of my world. In the silence, I realized that these intertwined experiences had unraveled the carefully constructed facade of my existence. I was now face to face with a raw authenticity that was as painful as it was liberating. Unable to remain captive to my inner torment, I reached for my phone and began to type a message destined for Greg. A confession fraught with remorse, sorrow, and the faint glimmer of hope for forgiveness. Each word was a tentative step toward acknowledging my faults, a cry for understanding, and an appeal for the possibility of rebuilding what had been shattered by deceit. I recalled every clandestine meeting, every whispered admission, and every fleeting touch that had both ignited and tormented my soul, knowing that only in embracing the totality of my truth could I hope to reclaim a semblance of honor and self-respect. As the hours wore on and the city outside continued its relentless symphony of distant sirens and murmuring rain, I pressed the send button. In that quiet, solitary moment, I surrendered to the inevitable consequences of my actions, a reckoning that promised no easy absolution but the chance to begin anew. The labyrinth of lies was collapsing, and with it, The illusions of perfection faded into a bittersweet dawn. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the past give way to a raw, uncharted future, and for the first time in a long time, I dared to imagine that truth, however painful, might finally set me free. In the quiet aftermath of that fateful message, the night stretched out before me like a fragile promise waiting to be fulfilled. I waited by the window in my small darkened apartment, the lingering echo of my confession to Greg thrumming in my veins. Outside, the city pulsed with an uncertain rhythm, the distant hum of traffic, the soft murmur of midnight conversations. And inside, my mind churned with a storm of hope, regret, and the raw desire for redemption. The hours passed slowly, each minute an eternity filled with the weight of consequences. I recalled every shared secret with Travis, every stolen moment of passion that had led to this irreversible juncture. The guilt of betrayal and the fierce pull of forbidden longing battled within me, leaving scars that were as invisible as they were indelible. Amid this internal tumult, I began to comprehend that the confession was not merely a surrender of lies but the first tentative step toward reclaiming my true self, a self long hidden beneath layers of deceit and self-delusion. As dawn crept over the horizon, its soft light casting gentle shadows across my scattered memories, I felt a subtle shift within. The decision to confront the past had unlatched a door to a future of uncertain promise. I wondered how Greg would receive my message, whether he would see it as an act of cowardice or as a trembling appeal for forgiveness and rebirth. In the quiet moments before the inevitable confrontation, every sound seemed amplified. The distant sound of a train, the whispered rustle of leaves, even my own heartbeat, steady and resolute. That morning, as I gathered my thoughts and prepared for a conversation that would change everything, I realized that life rarely offered second chances. But sometimes, in the midst of despair, the bravest choice was to face the truth head-on. The confession was a wound laid bare, a scar that could either fester or heal into something beautiful and real. With trembling hope and hardened resolve, I stepped away from the familiar confines of my past, ready to embrace the uncertain light of a new dawn, aware that every honest word had the power to mend the fragments of a shattered soul. I knew the road ahead would be fraught with pain, betrayal, and the constant reminder of choices made in haste. Yet, in that fragile early morning stillness, I recognized a profound liberation, the realization that acknowledging my mistakes was the only way to forge a future unburdened by old regrets. The journey toward redemption had begun, each moment a deliberate act of courage in a world where truth was the ultimate price, and every breath a promise of renewal. I embraced this new chapter with quiet determination and the sincere belief that healing was possible.